I just woke up, got a bunch of pings on my phone, and apparently a new Pokemon Pocket Pack trailer just released. Now I'm really excited to watch it with you guys because, as usual, they're going to show us a bunch of different cards that we'll be receiving in the new set. Now, not all the cards in the new set, but pretty much the highlight cards, some of the most important ones, which are the Ultra Beasts. So I think this is just going to cover all the Ultra Beasts in the new set. The set's called Extra-Dimensional Crisis. So let's get right into it. I do have to say I will be watching the trailer and then going over each of these cards individually after the trailer's over and giving my personal thoughts on them and telling you if I think this pack is going to be worth it or not. And I like to be very honest when I do these reviews, so if I don't think a card's very good, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to overhype it at all. So let's get into it. And let's see it. Okay, first card, Buzzwole. Now, it has 140 HP. It also has an Ultra Beast tag, as you can see here, which separates it from normal cards, I think. So that means potentially we'll get some kind of tool, item, or supporter that interacts specifically with Ultra Beast. That's what I'm assuming. That's why, in my mind, they would separate it from other Pokemon. Just give it a little cute tag there. It also knows Punch, 2 energy, 30 damage. Big Beat, 3 energy, 120. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Big Beat. So I'm not going to give my exact thoughts on if I think it's good or not until we see all these cards, because maybe there's a supporter or something. Extra-Dimensional Crisis. Let's go. All right, I like the pack art too. It actually looks really clean with the blue and red. Oh God. So I said this during the start of the month when we received the first Sun and Moon cards. I never played the game and I didn't watch the show, and I don't know how to pronounce any of this generation Pokemon names, so I'm kind of learning it as I go. So let me know in the comments if I mispronounce anything, please. I'm gonna try to sound it out. Okay. Nihilego. Tell me if I'm wrong, but it's a basic 70 HP, more poison ability. Your opponent's active Pokemon takes plus 10 damage from being poisoned, and it knows New Wave, 2 energy, 30, and it poisons your opponent if active. So, all right, we'll talk about that in a second. We got a Guzzlord EX, 170 HP, knows Grindcore, 2 energy, 30. Flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active. That could be good if you're good at flipping coins. Tyrannical Hole is very expensive, 4 energy, 120 damage. I'm not sure about that. Again, there might be some kind of supporter. What is this? Celesteela. It has 120 HP. It knows the ability Ultra Thrusters once during your turn. You may switch your active Ultra Beast with one of your benched Ultra Beasts for free. And 3 energy, Moom Baton, 100 damage, tails, it does nothing. All right, we got a Kartana, 40 damage, 1 energy. That might be good early game. It kind of reminds me of, for grass, it kind of reminds me of Farfetch'd. We got Pheromosa, 1 energy, 20 damage, and 20 to the bench. Okay, I have thoughts on these. Naganadel. Why are these so hard to pronounce? Electro House, 40, and poisons your opponent's active. Okay. And Statkataka, 40 damage. It takes minus 20 in the next turn. We got Blaze Fallon, 100 HP, and it knows Beat Punk, 3 energy, 130 damage. And it does 70 to itself, but it does 130 damage, and so you pretty much get 1 attack off with this, and then you lose it right away. Okay, I think all the Ultra Beast attacks are also the names of different music, right? Like blues, metal, thrash metal, electronics, electro house. Yeah, that's actually really cool. It's a cute little thing that they did there. Next, we got Tapu Koko, 130 HP, which is very weak for this current meta. Plasma Hurricane, 1 energy, 20 damage, but it puts energy on itself. So if you go second, you can use this next attack the next turn, which is Mach Bolt, 90 damage for 3 energy. So it's pretty much a better Pikachu EX. That's interesting. I kind of like that. All right, what's next here? Yeah, that's really cool art. Okay. Type Null. Wait, let's look at Type Null. And there was a supporter there. I just saw it. I will talk about it. But this does 40 damage if you flip heads. Okay, that's It has a 2 retreat cost too. Jeez. Lusamine. You can use this card only if your opponent has gotten 1 point. So that's the restriction. And it says choose one of your Ultra Beasts. Attach 2 random energy from your discard pile to that Pokemon. Brings 2 energy back to any Ultra Beast. So we're going to have to take a look back at those Ultra Beasts and see what it combos with. The restriction on it's not too bad because you sack a Pokemon, which doesn't matter because you get its energy back anyhow. So that's really interesting. I actually really like that. What else do we got here? We got some more. We got Zera Aura, which has the ability Thunderclap Flash. At the end of your first turn, take electric energy from your energy zone and attach to this Pokemon. So your first turn, you get 1 energy if you go first, and then you can attack for 50 the next turn. And if you go second, that still counts as your first turn, even if you're going second. So you'll still be able to do the 50 damage with Lightning Claw. You'll be able to attack right away, which is really good. That's only if you start with Zera Aura. If you don't start with him, then, you know, you just have to put 2 energy on him to attack for 50, which is not super great. We got Alolan Diglett, which can do 40 damage maybe. Well, that means we're getting a new Diglett line, which is pretty cool. Shiinotic, another Shiinotic line. We have like 3 of these, right? It knows Illuminate ability. Once during your turn, you may put a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. So that's a universal searcher, and it's going to work on your bench too. So you can have Shiinotic on the bench, and you're able to search your deck for a random Pokemon. Now, in order to use this, you need to stack your deck with 4 extras, which means 2 Shiinotics and 2 of its Morlulls. So in order to even get this search off, you need to evolve and fill your deck with 4 Pokemon. So I'm not sure how good this is. I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be super excited about this because it is cool that we get a random universal searcher. But I just want to remind you, you got to fill your deck with 4 Pokemon that you don't really want to use, and you have to evolve in order to use its abilities. So maybe there's a way to make it really good. It knows Gentle Slap too, so you can attack with any energy type because it's colorless, which is nice. Anything else here? Okay, we got a new Rowlet. That's I like the art on that, and I really like the whole, like, this is cool. This is very cool. I like the red and everything. All right, I think that's it. But I feel like there was a new promo card leak too. So we're going to talk about all those cards individually. I know I skipped through a lot of it, but I'm going to give you my thoughts and if you should buy this pack. First card I want to talk about here is Tapu Koko EX. It is a basic, which is good. It means it's going to be consistent. It does have 130 HP. It's a little bit low for what you probably want to do with it. So it knows Plasma Hurricane. It allows it to do 20 damage and put energy on itself. So if you go second, then you can attack for 90 the next turn. But we have things like Solgaleo, which if you go second, you can do 120 the next turn. I don't think this is going to be amazing. Maybe I'm wrong. It is an electric type, which is very good because you can play it with like Magnezone and Oricorio. So it might be better than I'm thinking just because it has some decent support for it. You can also play it with Pachirisu. But realistically, you want to start with it, use Plasma Hurricane so you can put an energy on it and, you know, get that bonus energy. But I don't like starting with an EX in the active zone. The only deck that really consistently does that is like Darkrai, for example, and that's because they have Giratina to follow up, and they're able to do that chip damage. And I guess Garchomp does that too, but that's just because it has a ability that does 50 for 1 energy. But I feel like starting with Tapu Koko, especially with its low HP in the active zone, and just if you go first with it too, it takes 2 turns to develop Mach Bolt, and by that point it's going to be really low, and they bring something out, destroy it, and it's an EX getting destroyed, so that means, yeah, I'm not really sold on this. Maybe you can play with Magnezone and Oricorio. I could see that happening, but I'm not sure if it's going to be top tier. I might be wrong. It's also not an Ultra Beast either, so the new supporter doesn't work with it. Next up, we got Guzzlord EX. It has 170 HP. It is a basic. I love how all the Ultra Beasts are basics, which is great. You can search them with Pokeball, and you don't need to have a ton of evolutions in your deck, so that's actually pretty good. It knows Grindcore, 2 energy, 30 damage, flip a coins until you get tails for each heads. Discard a random energy from your opponent's active. That is toxic. That is very toxic. And with the new supporter, if you send this out, you can activate the supporter, and you can immediately have Grindcore online and a 3rd energy because you were going to place one from your energy zone. So you'll be able to potentially shut them down if you flip enough heads, and then the next turn put 1 more energy on it and do 120 damage. So that's 150 within 2 turns if you lost a Pokemon earlier, which you probably will. So that's really good. I do think you're also going to play... he might be decent. This guy actually might be decent because it has 170 HP, which is pretty good, and it's a basic too. 120 damage for 4 energy seems bad, but because of the supporter, it might be okay. Now you're also thinking, what if you start with Godzly, right, in your active zone? That's bad because he's a 4 retreat cost. Well, that's why I do think you're going to run it alongside Celesteela, because this allows you to switch one of your active Ultra Beasts with one of your bench. So it's gonna allow you to switch it with itself. So I think you're gonna run Guzzlord and this thing. Say if you start Guzzlord, you know, you rotate this in. It has 120 HP. It's also a basic, so it's tanky. It's a basic, and it's colorless. So if you wanted to, you could put energy on him. Use Moon Baton. Try to flip heads. If not, it gets destroyed. You send out Guzzlord. Use the supporter, and then you're good. You start attacking and hopefully win the game. So I think these two are going to be paired together. Now, do I think this is meta? It might not be. It might be a little bit too slow, or it might be. I don't know. I think this is very usable. Next up, we got Buzzwole. This guy has 140 HP. It's another basic. 2 energy, 30 damage. So what you could do, again, use a supporter when it comes out, get that 2 energy, put another energy from the energy zone, use big beat. So immediately when it comes out, if you use a supporter, you'll be able to attack for 120 damage, which is good. So I think you're going to start with a grass Pokemon. I'm not sure what. I think we might be starting with either this one, which tags their bench for 1 energy, or you start with this, which deals, you know, 40 for 1 energy, which is pretty good too. It's also really good against Darkrai because Darkrai is weak to grass. So 40 for 1 energy is pretty decent. But the problem is you want to bring back 2 with the supporter. So maybe you wouldn't even run these. You could potentially run, like, what's a grass for worth 2? I guess you could run it alongside Meowscarada, because Meowscarada costs 2 to attack, and you're gonna, you know, it's a really good card in general. So that costs 2 to attack. So I think you would run it alongside Meowscarada. You can also cry for help and search for things. So when Meowscarada gets destroyed, you know, you just use your supporter, bring out Buzzwole, and then it can attack immediately for 120 damage. Now, the only problem is once you attack for 120, you can't attack the next turn afterwards, which is unfortunate. You can leaf away, use the fossil, like bring out a fossil, discard the fossil, bring him back, and then attack again. So you can get around it with the fossil tech, but that also means that you need to run 2 fossils in your deck too. I'm not sold on him. I think we got some better grass attackers right now, but it could be good. I mean, the problem is, again, he can't attack the turn after. I guess you got to use him for the very end of the game when you just need some follow-up, some heavy damage follow-up after Meowscarada. It can one-shot Darkrai too if it doesn't have Cape on it, which is really, really nice. Also, another problem is these are all basics, but you need to run the supporter for them to really work. So that means there's another 2 cards in your deck that are necessary. Anyways, next up, I want to talk about Blacephalon, which can attack for, I guess we're going to just say 1 energy if you use the supporter, and it can just do 130. So I think this is going to be follow-up, right? This could like follow up a Charizard, for example, or you can play this with Turtonator. Turtonator, you start in the active zone, you do 90 right away with its supporter. It gets destroyed. You send out Blacephalon. You use your supporter, bring back energy, and then attack for 130 right away. So this is just some pretty good fire type support. I like it a lot. Next up, we got Nihilego. And this is 70 HP, but it's really more focused on its ability, not its stats. So it says your opponent's active takes plus 10 damage from being poisoned. So if you use New Wave, they're going to take 50 damage in that turn. And if they don't retreat, they're going to take, you know, 20 more every single turn, every end phase that their Pokemon is poisoned on the board. So that's really good. Doubles your poison damage. And we have Poison Barb in the game now. So Poison got a lot better last update, and they gave it even more support with this guy right here. I do think you want to play him on the bench, and then if you use your supporter, you're going to be able to bring him out later on and just attack for 30 and poison them right away. So that might be interesting. I think you're going to play it maybe potentially alongside Noggin Nadel, which does 40 and poisons your opponent's active, so it's going to do 60 damage for 1 energy. Or you can play this. There's a lot of poison Pokemon in the game right now. We got Clodsire, of course. We have Toxicroak, the one that poisons them for 20. So that means they'll take 30 every turn from being poisoned if you use that. We also have, what else is there? Scolipede, too, that might make it better. I don't think it's going to be meta because, again, they can just switch out if they're poisoned. I don't think poison's maybe ever going to be meta until we receive something really broken. But it just buffs it, which is really cool to see. Type Null, I don't think that's very good. It kind of has 2 retreat cost. We got Pheromosa, which does 20 to their bench. I already talked about that. I actually, one more thing. I do think this is going to be good with Decidueye because it's 1 energy and you get to tag their bench too. So Decidueye needs something that's a cheap attacker early game to tap their bench. And then Decidueye goes in later and snipes the bench. So that could be a really good combo. We'll have to test that out. Xurkitree, which just confuses them and does 60 damage, and it has 100 HP. That's not super great. Kartana is a good, you know, Farfetch for grass. Stakataka, I'm not sold on this. I don't think this is going to be very good. Already talked about Zeraora. This is just an RNG card. If you start with it in your first hand, it's good. If you don't, it's not that good. Shiinotic, again, this is an interesting card because it's a universal search. It's the first one we've ever received. But you got to run 4 Pokemon in order for this to even be really usable, and you got to evolve. So I don't think this is going to be amazing. And then supporter is what makes everything work. Now, again, I haven't really talked about this, but if you don't have the supporter, if you don't draw into it, then if you don't draw it early enough, then, you know, you can't really use these cards, which is another huge problem. They rely on this supporter to work. So if you don't draw it, you're kind of out of luck, and you can't really search supporter cards in this game. So that definitely weakens both of these guys a lot, and it just weakens everything. We also have a new promo coming out, 2 of them. The first one, I don't know if you guys can see it here. I think you can. We got Ultra Necrozoma, and it has 150 HP. This is a Dragon EX. This is our first Dragon EX, I believe. It knows Photon Claw, 3 energy, 60 damage. Not super good. But, you know, you use the supporter card and you can use that right away as soon as you lose a Pokemon. And it knows Shoegaze. What? Shoegaze, that's a weird name. 120 damage. Discard the top 5 cards of each player's decks. Now, in this game, you can't deck out and lose. So, but you can potentially get rid of one of their strong lines with the Shoegaze. Like, say you just discard something they need to evolve into. That could be really strong if you use it early enough. Now, it does cost 2 Psychic and 2 Steel, which kind of sucks. All right, the only way I see Shoegaze working is if you run just Steel Energy, and then you run Giratina, and you sack Giratina first. Then you send this out, use a supporter, and then, you know, obviously bring up the Psychic Energy from the discard zone, and then you can use Shoegaze, which is still only 120 damage. So, and you need to use this early enough that you get rid of whatever they need to evolve into, which is not very likely because you're going to do this later on in the game. So this card kind of stinks. We got Popole, 2-step, 1 energy. It's a basic flip 2 coins. It does 20 damage for each heads, and it can do 0 damage. So that's not very good either. So I'm going to be honest. This is probably the most lacking set we've ever seen. Maybe I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong because, I mean, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 decks hopefully usable in ranked, maybe able to hit master with out of here. I hope so. I don't think this is, well, there's obviously more cards in the set, so we need to see the rest of the cards, but from what we've seen so far, these don't seem amazing. I'm honestly probably the most excited for Guzzlord, which just sounds crazy to say. Buzzwole might be decent too because you can come out and attack with him, but why would they even make it so that you can't use Big Beat the next turn? Like, you didn't need this restriction. This is not super broken to the point where they need to make it so you can't attack the next turn. Like, what are they doing? And again, I know people are going to be really excited about this, but I'm not. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to be completely honest with you. This might be the most lackluster set we've seen. Again, maybe if you're really like hurting on hourglasses, wait until I make some videos on it and cover this set throughout the week, and you can kind of formulate your own opinion if you want to buy it or not, because of course I will be, and I'll be testing all these different cards and decks. So if you haven't yet, turn on notifications to see that. Anyways, I'm gonna hop off. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.